Good morning. Good morning. This morning I will be speaking from 2 Corinthians 12, verses 9 and 10. But he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, I am strong." I am so honored to stand before you all today. Me being on this stage is evidence that God truly restores. 10 years ago in January, I was arrested in the state of Alabama for trafficking marijuana. And I would later be handed down a 20-year sentence, of which the state of Alabama asked me to serve 5 years in prison and to do the remaining 15 years on probation. And when I was sentenced, I was like, okay, God, you can quit playing now, because I know it's not your will for my life to be in prison in some state that I have never known or lived in. Well, actually, it was. And he did allow me to serve every single day of 5 years. And it was an experience that I draw deeply from as I come before you today speaking on I Am Strong. Prison is a place of no smells. There's no Fenty makeup, there's no bundles, and access to social media is illegal. It is, however, a lot of time to reflect. I'll be honest, you spend a lot of time teeter-tottering back and forth between the gnawing sense of regret, topped with uncertainty, into a place of gratitude, hope, and faith. Like, God, I know if you bring me through this experience, any other mountain that comes before me, you certainly have the power to put it in my hand. I experienced a lot of emotions while I was incarcerated, but I never once felt hopeless. Never once. Now, don't give me too much credit, because I felt a lot of different things: discouraged, misunderstood, forgotten about. But when you're sleeping next to a person who has been sentenced to life without the possibility of parole in their teenage years, something makes you steel yourself before God and say, thank you for these 5 years. It could have been a lot worse. Being strong is a resilience inside that dares to hope against hope. It's the God-given ability to continue when everything is telling you to stop. It is the ability to overcome the temptation that says, this is all that it can ever be. You will not be happy. You will not reach your goals. You will not live in your purpose. It's looking all of your doubts square in the eye and saying, I'm still gonna boss up. I'm still going to level up. The Most High has given me more time on this earth because he has a purpose for me, and I do not intend to miss it. I am strong, meaning it does not make me weak to ask for help. It does not make me less of a woman to allow other women to affirm me, to share my fears, losses, and sorrows, to connect in sisterhood solidarity, to develop a sister circle of authentic women who share, support, and encourage each other through these life storms. Part of why I have been able to sustain through every trial in my life is because of my village. And every time I want to fall apart because I have decided that this life has too many hurts and hurdles and setbacks, it's too complicated, multi-layered, multifaceted for me to figure out, the Most High will draw from my village. I do not know how you have been invited to experience God in this life, but every time I felt like failure was inevitable, I would cross paths with people, especially Black women, who strengthened me, stood up for me, spoke life into me, affirmed me, and gave me permission to be. Doulas, the Black women who oversaw the birthing process of the greatness within me, who I would rant and rave and curse and scream to, who would see the worst, lowest, darkest parts of my personality and my nature. And their response would be a loving challenge, an invitation, a summon to the better part of myself to come forth. Then they would reach their hands into my visionary womb and massage the head of my purpose and give birth to some of the most awesome experience that I never thought that I would be able to be privy to in this life. The sponsors, the Black women whose pay grades are several levels above mine, but they would speak a kind word about me to gatekeepers and decision makers and advocate for me to be in the room. The superstars, the Black women I see out here going hard, making me level up, showing me that it is truly possible to live my best life out here. Life is so much better when you have people who love you through your process and encourage you through your journey. Nobody will ever convince me that we do not get God's immediate, direct attention when we begin speaking life into other people, when we begin to speak into their journey, to remind me that you can make it. If you do not remember anything else that I have said today, make sure you get some people who are going to love you through your process and be good to them. I am strong is knowing I need God more than anything else, and I have to give my full attention to how the Most High is asking me to show up in this moment. Being strong is when you silence everything in your life and commit your full capacity to submitting to how God wants your attention. It was many a night that I had to invite God into the dry spaces in my life that I was hoarding. Being freed from prison did not end all of my problems. Now I had to begin to explain, what did I do that had me in prison in the first place? In this season, I am still going through a very difficult transition where I'm relearning the meaning of surrender and trust. Because sometimes I am strong is when you don't know what you think you know. So you have to relearn it all over again and humble yourself before life does it for you. I am strong because no matter what I come across in this free world, nobody but those who have been to prison themselves can fathom what it is like to sweat against your own will, trying to stomach the choices you felt like you were big and bad enough to make, to sleep in the bed that you made. However, I can look back on all of that as evidence of how God carried me when I couldn't keep myself. It was ugly. It was gritty. I was not the best version of myself. I have trauma. I have scars. I messed up a lot, but I was brought through it so that I can remember, so I can speak life into someone about their daughter, Their daughter who you can't brag on her because she's not on the honor roll. She hasn't given you much to be proud about because you are so deeply ashamed. But I want you to know that we serve a God who restores, who will bring things about full circle, who can use what you thought would destroy you to be the platform for your good, because he's so awesome. I am proof. I was delivered so I could advocate for policies who gave people like myself an opportunity after incarceration to live a life of dignity. Proof. God still brings you through. The Old Testament, the Most High would always remind Israel, remember, remember, remember. Proof. God still brings you through. Remember, I brought you through. Remember how I kept you. Remember, I restored you. Remember how you came back even harder than you left. Remember that I will bring you back beauty for ashes. Remember, you are the oil in somebody's alabaster box. Remember, the weaknesses, the insults, the hardships, the persecution, the difficulties are behind you. Remember, my grace is sufficient. Remember, I am. Remember, I am. You need. Remember, I am. God's name is I am. The Most High has healing for every situation. The Most High has encouragement for every trial. The Most High, remember, I am. Remember, I am. Remember,